Let's be real. Does community association living ever live up to its promise of being inexpensive and carefree? After working with almost 70,000 associations, I've seen that it is never that easy. Think about it. We're relying on untrained volunteers to lead, and we're expecting the participation of reluctant homeowners to fund anything and everything at the association. They'll be quick to tell you it's always expensive. And we're expecting overworked managers to provide expert advice in way too many fields. And we haven't even added a worldwide pandemic, supply chain issues, and high inflation. All this leads to a real sense of scarcity and tension for most associations, which is exactly the opposite of inexpensive and carefree. But we believe there's hope. So join us for some free training on advanced reserve concepts to help give you an edge facing all these challenges.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us to polish your ability to make wise decisions. Let me tell you why I care about a presentation like this. This is the view outside my bedroom window of the 71-unit condo association where I was president. It was the early 80s, and I was probably in my second or third meeting as president. We're in my living room, gathered around my coffee table, and the manager looked at me, reporting that the large living room picture window in the largest unit was leaking and needed to be replaced for about $2,600. And he asked me a pointed question, so what should I do? And everyone looked at me, waiting for my response, and I really didn't know what the answer was. I felt like saying, well, pay the bill. But then again, there were so many more questions, and I still remember that awful feeling, not knowing. And so that's why we're presenting this webinar today, to give you the training you need to know your priorities, being able to package questions into the right box, know your answers, and minimize or eliminate situations where you don't know what to do, because I don't want you to have that same horrible feeling that I had. So let's get talking about the webinar. As Paige said, everyone's muted to keep background noise to a minimum, but you can always ask a question through your Q&A dialog box, and I see a few that are already starting to pop up. The chat is where you can talk amongst yourselves, but the Q&A is where you submit a question for Coley and myself. Regarding the program today, I'm going to lay a little foundation before handing off to Coley, and it all starts with appreciating that the community association living concept of home ownership is fragile. You could call it precarious. And I'm not trying to discourage you. I just want to make you aware that it is a challenging situation. It relies on untrained volunteers, the participation of owners to vote, and reliance on those same owners to fund anything and everything at the association, which they will always report is always expensive. So community association living is not the carefree living that it was billed to be. So you need to appreciate that participating in an association is and always will be an uphill challenge. And that's because there's constant financial pressures from ongoing expenses and ongoing deterioration. And that creates friction between the board, who knows what the costs are. They're trying to lead the organization forward with a balanced budget, and the owners, the majority of people living there in the association, hang on to the false premise of inexpensive and carefree community association living. So it's always going to be a pressure and challenging situation. Coley's going to cover a lot of the bulk of the material today, and it's all advanced concepts. And so if you feel we've skipped over some basics, you can catch up on those basics with our recorded webinar resources on our website. I show an image here where you can go to our reservesay.com website, click on resources, go to webinars, and maybe you can look up something like ReserveSay Basics, a very popular program. Some other foundational programs are our Quicksand program, talking about getting off track, or Roadmap, staying on course for getting forward into the future. Those plus the videos we have on YouTube are going to lay a pretty strong foundation for what you need to do and face with respect to ReserveSays throughout the year. Again, minimizing the chance that you'll face that awful feeling of not knowing what to do. And again, all these resources are available for you or other committees, other management staff. It's just there as a resource to the industry. And we do this because managing or leading an association is that uphill challenge that I spoke about, with many financial, physical, and operational decisions that you're going to face on an ongoing basis. Never sure when the next one's going to come, what it's going to look like. They're all going to take time and effort, and there's so many ways you can get it wrong. And it starts with the subject of reserve studies themselves, creating conflict. Sometimes I feel like we're a used car salesman, like it appears in the slide. We hear objections like you see on screen on a regular basis. What's it good for? It's just a bunch of guesses. And why pay for something that we'll just ignore? And why should I care? I won't be here. And then getting a reserve study is only going to make my dues go up. So I don't want to do it. So remember that, speaking about that last one, the costs occur whether you make reserve transfers or not, whether you have a reserve study or not. The costs themselves are defined by the property, not your funding plan. Your only choice really is if you're going to fund those projects through ongoing reserve funding or special assessments. Your funding choice doesn't change the costs. And then moving on, we are well aware that a reserve study is a budget guide. We're going to be close, but it will not be perfect. We're talking about anticipating the future here. It's a good framework for decisions, guiding you how much to set aside, how much to spend, and when, basically how to stay on track. It's like a map helping you navigate towards the future. And it helps you prepare for those inevitable, predictable, and expensive common area projects. So a reserve study sets you up for success. And like that navigation app on your phone, no one's telling that you have to follow your reserve study. But having that reserve study allows you to prepare for those big projects. As soon as you see them on paper, you can decide, I'm going to start getting ready for that project by setting my fair share aside at this time. And let me make it very clear by the way I said that. We're not making guesses about things 20 years or further in the distant future and then closing our eyes and wondering what happens. We just, in the reserve study business, see the things the way they are now, and based on our experience and on what we see and regular updates, we can help you prepare for the future, a few steps forward at a time, a few years forward at a time. So no distant long-range guessing. And fortunately, the entire reserve study profession is built on National Reserve Study standards that define component selection, calculations, terminology, and other things, basic disclosures. The more your reserve study provider follows National Reserve Study standards, the more accurate, stable, and useful that reserve study you have in your hands is going to get. And in addition, after the tragic collapse of Champlain Towers South last year, CAI came out with a clear best practices recommendation for how often to do reserve studies, and that's a with-site visit update every third year. That's a nice sweet spot between doing an on-site inspection every year and waiting too long. And when you think about it, that's pretty reasonable for updating one of your budget line items that is likely, if not your largest budget line item, one of your largest budget line items. It's often 15 to 40% of your total budget.
At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.